somehow it is already December. I'm not sure how that happened. One minute I'm looking, it is January, and I am thinking, what am I going to do with the rest of the year? I'm looking down the barrel of 25 books that I've set to read for 2025, and now I am reading the last one. Yes, I have read 100 and something other books in the same time, but these particular books were sitting on my shelf for quite a long period, and I really needed to get through them. However, this week is not about that. This week I have a guest. Victoria Prince is here to talk about her first raunchy bonkbuster called Chalet Girl, which comes out on the 4th of December if you're listening to this when it's released. So sit down with your drink of choice and enjoy this week's episode of Being Bookish. I am joined today by Victoria Prince to talk about her debut novel, The Chalet Girl, which comes out this week, if you're listening to this on recording day, the 4th of December. Hi, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Ray. Thank you.
My pleasure. Now, I've got a copy of The Chalet Girl, and it is very, I'd say it's kind of like Bridget Jones cover inspired, but the content is very 1980s bonkbuster.
That's exactly what I was aiming for. So I'm so pleased you've said that, because
this was 100% what I got out of it. Was I was reading it, even the character names inspired that feeling of Jackie Collins, Judith Krantz, Jilly Cooper, that kind of theme, because we have our main character, Emmeline Eversley, so we've got the double E's.
Yeah.
We have the very appropriately named Tristan Ducoc.
Yeah.
And every single time I read that, I was thinking, this is so hinting at his character.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure if that was the intention or if that was just my brain working the way it does when I grew up on the novels by authors like Krantz. And Penny Vincenzi was one that I remember reading for the first time not long after her first novel came out. I wasn't the age for it, but I had the adult library ticket and I was going to use it.
Yes.
So do you want to, for people who haven't found this book yet, do you want to sort of explain a little bit about the story and about the, actually just about the story, but we do no spoilers on this podcast. So obviously the ending, which is very cliffhangery, is not to be touched.
Yep. Okay, don't worry. I'm all for no spoilers as well. So you're spot on, because that was my intention. But actually, I'll talk about the story first, and then I'll go into the why a bit more. But yeah, it's about Emmeline Eversley, a 28-year-old young woman who works in London and lives in London, and she has some heartbreak at home and decides to up sticks when her best friend, a guy called Tom, is getting married to a woman who she actually helped set them up. She's been suppressing a unspoken love for Tom for years. And she just can't face it anymore. When he gets married, she decides to up sticks and move to, first she says anywhere in the world. She decides to sign up for a nannying agency, but she takes the first placement after the wedding that she can get, which ends up being in the Swiss Alps in a fictional town called Christeldorf, an exclusive ski resort in the Swiss Alps, where she ends up nannying for a British family out there. So it's very change of life for her, change of pace. She's gone from being an assistant in the city to being a nanny in a fairly sleepy, but it turns out it's not so sleepy, village in the Swiss Alps. And then it's all about the cast of characters she meets there. There's a little bit of mystery and thriller and a whole lot of bonkbuster after she sets eyes on the hottest guy in town, who is mesmerizing. So yeah, and it's set over about 2 months, and we see the friendships she makes, and there are lots of colorful characters, warring families. There's a bit of succession there, and dynasties in the hotel business in the town. She makes a brilliant friend in another worker, a local chef who works for a rich family. And it's all about the kind of the upstairs, downstairs element of the workers in the town, among who there's quite a lot of camaraderie, but also the elite in the town who tend not to be that nice to the workers, and they're getting into all kind of scrapes themselves. So I hope that explains it.
It does very well. I mean, obviously, you touched on there are the friends because we have Kat and we have Tiago,
Yes.
and obviously we have Cassie, another nanny,
Yes.
who's not very nice to her charge. But then I kind of don't blame her because comes across as quite a brat.
Yes.
Put on my coat, tie my shoes.
Yes. He's
What's
a little
your last
prince.
dive off?
Yes, he's a little prince, and Cassie was a good character to say what I would probably think in that situation. Emmeline, she's more patient than I would be as a nanny with bratish children. So Cassie was my outlet for being able to say what you think about the kids who are behaving awfully.
Yeah, and of course we also have the mystery of what happened with Jenny, the previous nanny, who,
Yes.
to all intent and purpose, sounded quite perfect.
Yes. So Emmy is replacing Jenny, who she doesn't know much about, and she's a little bit worried about because she's thinking, I have big shoes to fill. The kids loved this nanny before. Why did she just disappear from town suddenly? And I've been given this role quickly. So I wanted a bit of mystery running through about that.
There are some definite red herrings provided by other characters, including Lexi, who I didn't take to from the outset. There
Good.
was something very cold about her. She was Ice Queen. Anastasia was also very Ice Queen, but she had an element of insecurity about her, whereas Lexi just seemed slightly deranged.
Yes, that was my intention. So I'm glad that came through. Yeah, Lexi is the boss, the nanny's employer, who yeah, she's difficult. She makes life hard for Emmy. She is slightly deranged. I'm glad that came through. Not very nice to her children, not very nice to her husband, and not very nice to her nanny. So yeah, she was kind of the character that you don't like. That was my intention. Whereas with Anastasia, I wanted her to be someone you kind of love to dislike, actually.
I think there was a lot behind Anastasia's character. She felt very insecure. She was obviously used to being compared to her siblings,
Yeah.
especially her sister Vivian,
Yeah.
and found wanting for that.
Yes.
She wasn't happy in her marriage. It felt as though sometimes there was this feeling that she was almost encouraged to marry Dimitri because of who he was, rather than because there was any love between them.
Yeah.
And then I've done my duty. I have my 3 children, and now I'm going to do things for myself, irregardless of the destruction this might carry.
Yes. Yeah. She was fun. She was fun to write, actually, because even though she has probably quite a sad, kind of poor little bitch girl kind of backstory, actually, she was quite fun because she could be the kind of reckless, glamorous character, kind of blazing a trail through town and burning it down as she goes. So it was she was it was my intention that she was more of a character that you would enjoy disliking. Yeah.
In degrees, she felt slightly like Perdita from Polo. There were elements of her character, especially with the self-destruct mechanism in place, that felt very Perdita for me.
Yeah.
And that is my favorite of Jilly Cooper's novels, Polo. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. So I am more of a Jackie Collins. So I did love Jilly Cooper, but when you mentioned Jackie Collins, that's so funny because really Anastasia to me is a bit of a pastiche of Jackie Collins' characters. So that's interesting that she reminded you of Perdita.
I think it's the fact that she is on a journey of self-destruction. She is not caring about who is in her way, and it's all about her and her getting her satisfaction, and that is for a large part of Polo, that is what Perdita does.
Yeah.
So reading this with her, there were moments where I felt incredible pity for Anastasia.
Yeah.
And you didn't really get to know very much about Vivian.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that she was almost like, this is who you should aspire to be.
Yes.
And that is, her sister was being held up as an example of, this is the peak, this is who you need to be. And that's not what you are.
Yeah.
And she was always left, especially when it came to, I think that her dad compared her quite unfairly with her sister,
Yeah.
rather than looking at her as an individual.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted, to have a kind of big warring family. Again, it was inspired by, I mean, you mentioned the 80s vibe of it, and
Yeah.
that's exactly what I was trying to do. And I grew up, I mean, I'm older than you, I'm sure, but I grew up on a diet of Dallas Dynasty, the Colbys, all those kind of American soaps.
Yeah. Wednesday night was Dallas.
Oh, you remember? Yeah, Wednesday
I'm
night was Dallas.
51.
Oh, are you? Oh, I had no, right. Okay. I'm 50 next year. So, okay, we're talking about the same references.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
Wednesday night was Dallas, Friday night was Dynasty.
And
I
the
loved
Colbys,
the Colbys, all the spin-offs. I wasn't so
Falcon
into Knots
Crest.
Landing, actually. I didn't love Knots Landing so much.
I loved Falcon Crest.
Did you? Yeah, I didn't get into that one.
That
But
was all the vineyards, the vintners and the
yeah,
wine estates and everything. Absolutely loved that one. And of course, Knots Landing was on in the afternoon, so it was
yeah.
slightly different.
Yeah, it was harder to watch it when we were at school, I suppose, as well. But I loved all that, and I did so. And often it was about warring. You know, Bobby and J.R. Ewing were warring, or in Dynasty, the Blake's daughters were and sons were always warring. So I just felt that I wanted to have this big, wealthy family living in a mansion, not unlike a kind of Carrington mansion from Dynasty, but set on the banks of an Alpine river. And so I thought I have to have rivalry in there. Again, I suppose it goes back to Jilly Cooper and rivals, and having, you need to pit characters against each other. And
Absolutely.
I thought siblings is a great way to do that. So,
But you also have, obviously, you've got Walter and his love for Lumi,
yes,
plus his war with Victor.
yes,
So not only have you got the family warring within themselves, you also have this competition between two men that seems like it's all about the hotels, but in reality, there is something else that happened that underpins it all.
yes, exactly. And
It's all ultimately about love.
yes, yeah, it is. And because, I mean, I'm a romance writer, so this is my debut in this genre. I have written romance novels before, and this is what I tend to go back to, love stories. But I wanted to write a kind of more pizzazzy love story with a bit of thriller, with a bit of intrigue, with some warring factions and families. But yeah, it all comes back down to love. And Emmy, our central character, she she falls hard and fast for the town player. So without giving any spoilers, but yeah.
That's the thing with her. There is this, she's hearing one thing, especially from people like Lexi and Kat, who are saying, oh, don't touch him with a barge pole.
Yeah.
He is absolutely toxic, anything he touches. And she's witnessed that for herself with that scene at the very beginning where one girl's heading off the balcony while the other one's walking in the front door.
Yeah.
And obviously there is a twist to that, which we're not going to give away.
Yeah.
But she's also seeing this side of him that doesn't match up with the person she's being told he is. He's showing her layers of vulnerability that he isn't necessarily revealing to these other women. And he keeps on telling her, oh, it's different with you.
Yeah.
But she's already had that whole thing with Tom where she opened her heart to him, probably at the wrong time.
Yeah. Night before the wedding.
Definitely at the wrong time. Night before the wedding, let's go to your hotel room and tell you I'm in love with you.
Yeah.
And there seems to be this, she's going over there to recover from him and immediately spies this guy because she saw him initially on the train, didn't she?
Yes.
I've traveled on a Swiss train through the Alps.
Have you?
Yeah, I have family who live over there.
Oh wow.
When I was in my teens, we did the journey and it was incredible.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful country all told, but I'm not a skier and neither is our heroine.
No, and neither am I. And so it was quite easy to put in elements of being terrified of skiing and it being something that she doesn't want to get into, but she kind of has to for her job. So that was quite fun actually to put those elements in, because I just can't crack skiing. I've been a few times. In fact, the reason I set the book in the Swiss Alps is because I have a friend who lives in the Swiss Alps, and I've been to stay with her a few times. And it's so beautiful, the country, isn't it? And it's so, everything does run like clockwork. The trains are amazing. The
We
scenery.
could learn something from them.
Yeah, oh God, we certainly could. So I have my setting. When I felt that I needed to write a book like this, I have my setting that was on a plate really handed to me, because I had done about 4 trips there. But every time I've tried skiing, it's just been a disaster. And my husband says he thinks I'm the only person who's got worse every time we've been skiing. I mean, the first time we went, I did okay, and I managed to go on a blue run, and I felt quite, but I've never progressed, and I've got worse. And since we've had children, they are now much better skiers than I am. So yeah, I just think I'll never fall in love with skiing, and that's okay, because there's so many other things to enjoy, like the view and the hot chocolate and all the other elements that I love about it. So
I lived in Austria, in the mountains in
wow.
Austria for a year in my teens. I couldn't even ice skate.
Right, okay,
They
yeah.
had this massive ice skating rink in the town, but they also opened up one of the lakes in
Oh wow,
winter.
when it had frozen over.
When it was frozen over, they'd drive a tank onto it first off to make sure it was safe enough,
Yeah,
and then they'd open it up for the ice skating, and
wow.
I'd just stand there at the side and watch everybody, because I
Yeah,
knew that there was no way on earth I
yeah,
was going to be getting out there. I was
yeah.
told horror stories as a child, and it put me off for life.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and horror stories on the slopes. And when we have been, I've seen helicopters, rescue helicopters, and I've seen people being tobogganed down, on those kind of stretcher things. That, and I'm not very
Yeah, my
dared.
aunt had to be flown home from one of her ski trips
Oh
because
my
she
gosh!
damaged her knee so badly. She
Right.
had to be flown home because of the
Wow.
injury that she'd incurred by skiing.
Yeah.
So it happens. And obviously there's all the skiing isn't the core of it. We also see the excessive prices of everything.
Yeah.
It goes with the fact that everything runs like clockwork,
Yeah.
and we see the excess
Yeah.
from the families, because you've got Lexi with her, "Oh, I don't cook,"
Yeah.
and having food delivered every single day that's already been prepared and may need reheating but might not,
Yeah.
and the parties, and the cost of everything is incredible. I mean, she talks about a 2,000 franc bikini.
Yeah, yeah. Well, these are all kind of inspired by things, when I was on these trips to Switzerland. I think things sort of struck me and shocked me, and I looked at a few shops along the way when I was in this ski resort, and yeah, was absolutely flabbergasted by these prices and just this other world. If I didn't have a friend who lived there, we wouldn't have gone there, because we had the accommodation to stay with her. And just seeing how expensive a hotel is a night, we wouldn't be able to do that. And the cost of things is crazy, and it sort of helped set Emmy apart. I mean, she has a decent job in London, she earns a good enough salary, but I just needed to make her feel like a real fish out of water, being in this extreme place of wealth and excess.
And obviously we have the brand names, the luxury brand names being thrown around as though, "Oh, well, I'm just going to buy this Louis Vuitton hat
Yes,
and I'll give it to you as a gift."
yes, yeah,
And this is, for me, this felt like this was Tristan's love language,
yes, yeah,
was giving things that he knew she wouldn't be able to afford, but it wasn't showing off so much. With some of them, it felt very much like, "Oh, I'm showing off because I can afford this and you can't." And that
yeah,
was very much Lexi for me.
yeah, exactly.
So her children felt far more down to earth, as did her husband.
Yeah, I wanted them to feel, I mean, they were a British family living as expats kind of thing out there. So I wanted them to have a bit of grounding and a bit of common interest with Emmy. I can't remember how long that they'd lived out there, whether the children were born there. I think the children had been born in the UK. So I wanted them to be a bit relatable. And also I wanted Emmy to be able to warm to them and to learn to love them. And
Yeah.
so I
It did
think
seem
that's
to
why
connect.
I didn't want them to be complete spoilt brats. Also, I wanted to show their independence, kind of showing that their mum doesn't really do much for them. And so actually they've had to be quite resilient and independent, even though they're very young, because, you know, they've lived with a nanny all the time, and often, you know, so they don't just have their mum on hand helping them out and doing everything, even though they've had nannies. It actually shows that there's a sort of slight sadness about their independence and, you know, all the rules in their house that they've had to follow.
Yeah, I think Harry's detachment was very much that evidence. He was, when Emmy first arrived, he was not so interested in making any kind of connection with her. And when she bought the Paddington Bears and gave one to Bella, she was like, oh, that's lovely. And Harry was kind of like, oh, great,
Yeah,
it's a bear. Even though they're both quite young, he was far more detached, as though I'm not going to get attached to you because we've been here before. We've
yeah,
been here several times before.
yeah,
I don't want to show any attachment. Yet later on, even though they don't, it only a couple of months in total passed throughout the entire book, there seemed to be that bond. He seemed to open up to her more.
yeah. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to show her kind of cracking the nut and, you know, a journey of, you know, arriving and some hostility and not a warm child. And for reasons exactly as you said, he's a bit wary. It's another person come to look after him who's not his mum. So he's a little bit, you know, I feel he's a little bit wounded, really. And then, yeah, showing the progress of Emmy, you know, going from him not being very nice to her to him actually really needing her in one scene and depending on her. So I needed to show that the evolution of Emmy and Harry warming to each other in her care, and also to differentiate from, you mentioned earlier, the princely child in his class who her friend
Yes.
Cassie, another nanny, looks after. I wanted to show that Harry might be a little bit of a brat when we first meet him, but he's nothing like this other child. So I think it would have been harder for Emmy to crack that nut if she was looking after that child. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think she'd have probably walked away very, very quickly.
yeah,
Because that's one thing. There are certain moments where it looks as though Emmy is just going to take everything and fall for the bad guy and accept everything at face value.
yeah,
And then she'll say, no, not doing it. When she is that whole confrontation with Lexi,
yeah,
when she discovers the truth,
yeah,
and then she goes and stays at that luxury hotel courtesy of Tiago,
yeah,
and she's refusing to buckle.
yeah,
She
oh,
doesn't want to hear any excuses.
yeah,
And I can't help seeing that with the whole accepting the fact that Tom has moved on. He married Chrissy, though even though she introduced them, there doesn't seem to be any love lost between those two.
no,
As
there is,
though she senses that you actually have these feelings for him, but it's not going to happen. He's mine now.
yeah,
And it's almost as though that acceptance has made her a little bit stronger.
yeah, yeah, and she gets stronger on this trip. So yeah, I'm really glad you recognise this, because I don't want her to be a doormat or a wallflower, or just to be pining for Tom, who's gone and married, you know, got married at the beginning of the book. So I wanted to show her gathering strength on this trip through the book. So yeah, I'm glad you've seen
Yeah,
that, because that's what I wanted. I didn't want her to be where I wanted her to stand up for herself, to stand up against her boss, to, you know, to fight for what she wants, but also for the truth. And you know, that's part of her story.
I do think that the moment that all came to a head was when he phones her. She answers, having ignored a few of his calls, and he's like, oh, are you coming home for Christmas? And she's like, no. Oh, well, I've got something I want to tell you.
Yes.
And it's like, well, tell me on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the moment you realize she is so over him.
Yeah. Yeah. So I needed to have a moment of closing the door on Tom, really, for her to be able to look to her future, and yeah, showing that she's found her feet in Switzerland and she's going to be all right, whatever happens with Tom, whether Tom's happily ever after with his wife or not. And I left that ambiguous deliberately. I wanted, to show that, yeah, she's moved on, because she spends a bit of the beginning of the book pining for him, and wondering what he's doing and thinking about him and wanting to send, pictures of where she is to him, as you would with, someone who you're in, massively regular contact with, and then suddenly can't be, really, because he's on his honeymoon at the start of the book. So yeah, I'm glad that came through, that she has a moment where her boundaries are not crossed.
It also felt as though he was trying to cling on to that, despite knowing that what he was doing would hurt her.
Yeah.
It's almost like he didn't care about that. He doesn't ask anything about how she is, what she's doing, how she's getting on. It's all, are you coming back? I've got something to tell you. Not, hey, how are you? Or why are you okay because you haven't been answering my calls?
Yeah.
It's, I've got something to tell you, and I need to, it's better to tell you in person. It's like, if you're telling me you're having a child with your wife, you can tell me that over the phone.
Yeah. That's exactly what I wanted her to be able to close the door. And I think it happens at a scene, if I remember, where actually then Kat appears a bit later in the scene. I think, is that right? I can't remember my own book. But actually, or soon after, I have a very kind of sisterly scene between her and her girlfriend, her mate, her best mate, who she's made out there, where, if I recall, it's quite soon after that they're, she's bolstered by the sisterhood, by her friendship with Kat, and that's what I really wanted. It's like, whatever is going on with Tom, she's all right because she's made some good female friendships.
And Kat's going through a lot herself.
Yes.
So there is that element of, I need support, but so do you.
Yeah.
And their bond sort of gets even stronger because of that. Because obviously we know that Kat is an incredibly talented chef. She works for the Kiwi family. And has a good relationship with Lumi, her boss. But she is also in a relationship with Anastasia. And that's toxic as anything. But we've already established that she's kind of that confusing, toxic, but confounded character who needs mental help more than anything. She really needs the support that she doesn't get from her family or from her husband. And she feels it's all take, and I haven't got anything to give. But then she gets the same from her family. Oh, well, you're just take, and you don't give us anything. So Kat's stuck in that relationship with someone who she feels is using her. And it's almost like when obviously Emmy reveals that she's been involved with Tristan, don't get into the same mistakes I did. Because they are the elite, and it's an upstairs downstairs relationship. They are the elite with all the money, and we are the people that work for them. And ne'er the twain should meet.
So there were parallels there, and that's how they could help each other through. And without giving spoilers, I suppose, their friendship prevails, and actually that becomes more important than whether Kat and Anastasia are going to have a happy ever after, or whether, Emmy and Tristan, what will happen with them. I kind of wanted the friendship actually to be really important, and for it not to be just about, toxic relationships.
That the whole Kat making it very clear that, oh no, this is not the way we should be going, is very Edmund Fairley and Emma Hart. And there's another book I grew up on.
Well, and I wanted that, and we've we've all had friends who have been in toxic relationships, and we've heard them saying, or perhaps us ourselves, but never again, or this is the last time, and I think we all recognize that behavior in Kat when she goes back, and you kind of want to shake her and say, no, don't do it. So I think that was really important, that friendship, they could go make each other stronger, bolster each other, admit to their mistakes, or admit to their kind of vulnerabilities and their weaknesses in matters of the heart, but still actually help each other through them.
Absolutely. I think that there's a blend of, this is a romance. It's also about animal instinct
Yeah. Well, yeah.
and about um the empowerment you get when you have good friendships. And
Yeah.
I have to be honest, I don't think Tom was actually as good a friend as Emmy always thought he was.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, yeah, that's interesting that you've kind of taken quite a dislike to Tom.
I
That
don't know what it is.
Yeah,
I think everybody's been there, and you see that you have an infatuation. The fact that even after she told him how she felt about him, he's trying to make her do things the way he, oh, I miss seeing you at lunch every day.
yeah. It's kind of that thing of, a kind of weak guy, I suppose, would do this. Just want to keep his not his options open, but want to keep, it's the narcissism, I suppose, wanting someone to, flatter his ego and knowing that someone is hankering for them. This kind of type of guy. Like, he's not an arch evil, horrible.
Oh no, absolutely not. But
But
there are those elements of
yeah,
him that are, I like the flattery. I
yeah,
like the way this makes me feel. Now I know it's here. I
yeah,
want it more. So
yeah,
him using things like, oh, are you going to come home for Christmas? I've got something to tell you. And oh, when are you coming back to work? Because I miss my lunch buddy. It's
yeah,
like she's doing this to heal herself.
yeah,
And all you keep on doing is, oh, it's me, it's me, it's me. I miss this. I want this.
yeah.
Not how are you?
But that's a type of guy who, would keep someone in his orbit just to kind of flatter his ego, I suppose. Obviously, I, I remember this from school. There'd be guys who knew that girls fancied them, and actually they had no intention of going out with them, but actually they wanted them in their orbit to make them feel good about themselves.
Oh yeah. There were a couple of boys in my school that were like that in my class.
Right. Yeah.
And if you weren't in their orbit and you weren't interested in them, they basically tortured you.
Yeah. So it's kind of a bit Donald Trump, really. He you want people around you, and just not to be horrid to them, but I think it's, if you
Fair
ask
play.
someone out, yeah, yeah. And if you it's the boy who asks a girl out to a disco and she says no, and he says, I didn't want to go out there anyway, kind of thing. I mean, Tom's not that mean, but I think it just kind of, he's touched and flattered, and it helps his ego to know. And I think, I think some men show that trait. So
Yeah, it's cruel to the person that has acknowledged their weakness
yeah,
in a way. And Emmeline moving to Crystaldorf,
yeah,
which I think is a fantastic name.
great, yeah,
Makes me think of something all sparkly because I
yeah,
mean, it translates to Crystal Village. So
yeah,
it's kind of appropriate because all that glitters is not gold.
yeah,
And that is definitely the case with the underlying tensions in this village.
yeah,
Everybody is kind of close, but they're not close
yeah,
because at any moment your wife could be off with somebody else. And obviously, we discover there is so much under the surface with Lexi, with her rules, her attitude, the gossip. She loves to to belittle people.
yeah. She's quite
And
bitchy, yeah,
she does think that she's better than everyone else. I
yeah,
mean, she's got this, she is the person who markets the, not all marketing people are horrible.
yeah,
She's
I,
the person that markets this meal, kind of like gusto, I suppose, that comes to their house every day. She has elite campaigns, but she seems to think that she is so much better and so much more entitled to admiration and worship than anybody else. And woe betide anybody question her.
yeah,
Because I think that's what Jenny ended up doing.
yes,
And obviously that's what Emmeline did.
mm,
And she feels like she has the anvil over their heads.
yeah,
I'm in control. This is my house. These are my children. And if you dare to question me, I'm going to make your life a living hell.
yeah. And she does, she is the kind of snob and the selfish and entitled, probably the most entitled character, really, who, because she's nasty with it, to to people who work for her, and that's just such a horrid trait in people.
Yeah.
Abusing power.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things that I found very, very early on, that it felt I was waiting for the revelation to happen, when at the very, very beginning we have Bill getting off the train,
Yeah.
and he has this thought, oh, I wonder, he couldn't stop thinking about Jenny Jones.
Yeah.
And nothing happens with that.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for it. And then we had that revelation that Lexi made.
Yeah.
And I was waiting, and she actually, obviously, Emmeline questions her about it. And that's when everything between them goes completely downhill and off the rails.
Yeah.
And I was still waiting for that revelation that he was going into the city to see her.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting, because I wanted without giving spoilers, I did want there to be a question mark under Bill, the husband, because I mean, their marriage is quite dysfunctional, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
You want to kind of think, oh, you know, what's going on here? And is she just with him for the money? And why is he staying with her? So I really wanted there to be all these questions. And I did consider having a twist that I was perhaps aiming or hinting at. But yeah, interesting that you were still hanging and wondering whether...
I was really waiting for the revelation that he was going into the city to meet Jenny every week.
Yeah, that was kind of what I wanted you to think.
Because he said he couldn't stop thinking about Jenny Jones.
Yeah.
And especially given the revelations we get, that, I mean, Lexi gives completely different stories to everybody, because obviously it doesn't spoil anything to say that Lexi told Bill that Jenny was stealing from them.
Yeah.
And she tells Emmeline something completely different.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, why is he still thinking about her?
So
unless he has his doubts.
Yeah, so that was it. That was my intention. I wanted to give the implication that he's hankering for Jenny Jones, because I think I implied, well, a guy in the... I think Kat makes a joke about all the cheating husbands, or, you know, he's off in the city kind of thing. But I wanted to give that implication, but I actually wanted him to be lingering on what the hell happened. Someone he trusted did something bad under his family's nose, and it doesn't add up with him. That's the thing. He's lingering on her because he's thinking, you know, we're talking only in the space of the week before. He'd been told this thing that she'd been stealing from them, and he can't quite get his head around it. That's why he's lingering on it, because she seems such a lovely, wholesome, wonderful nanny. So it was my intention to imply that perhaps he had been being naughty with Jenny,
or infatuated with her, and that's why he got her.
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting. I mean, everyone takes different things, don't they?
That's the thing. Lexi had a level of insecurity about her position within her own family.
Yeah.
Even though she made no effort to make it any better. And I think that this is a theme with a lot of the family, with a lot of the characters, that they feel not necessarily inadequate, but they don't feel up to the meeting the expectations that other people have of them. And that's where I think Tristan and Emmeline's story kind of works really well, because he doesn't feel like he's good enough. He knows that people suspect him of certain things that he knows he didn't do.
Yeah.
And of course, Emmeline is getting all these stories and hearing everything, yet she's able to see beyond them, even when the next one comes barreling down on her.
Yeah.
And it's only when she's told something and can't get the truth that she starts to question what they have, until she does discover the truth, and then it sort of asks even more questions. And there's so many little plot moments in the book that they basically do create an avalanche, which obviously a metaphorical avalanche in the book, not the literal one. And I find it very, very interesting that we have all these characters that are contributing towards multiple storylines, but at the same time, it all focuses really, while we get all the underlying stories, it still has that ending that is focused on Emmeline and Tristan.
Yeah. Well, that's what I feel. The story starts with them or with her. And so I wanted it to end with her. And to, yeah, and you're right. The common thread with a lot of the characters is an insecurity. And I think it's probably that I grew up on a diet of Dallas and Dynasty and warring families and people not feeling good enough. And, you know, Alexis and Crystal always fighting with each other. And, you know, even though, you know, there's all these kind of long harbored resentments and insecurities. I think I kind of wanted that to run with everyone, really, every character. I'm sure not every character, but most of the characters have some kind of doubt and question in their place in the world, whether they deserve it, whether they're, maybe apart from Tiago. I love Tiago. I don't know.
Tiago's really sweet, and he doesn't, obviously he's more of a foil for every other character.
Yeah, I loved him, and I, you know, I had sort of bigger plans for Tiago almost. But I realized he'd be better as a foil for everyone else. But yeah, he's that lovely, reliable friend, you know, without a bad bone in their body, really. So yeah, it's quite. But he's probably the only one who's just moseying along. I mean, he's put in his place by the structure, the societal structure. He references, you know, being Portuguese and how they're all the lowest of the low workers.
But he also says, "Oh, he's my brother because we're all Portuguese."
Yes, and we're all in it together, and we all, and so I love that about him. So, part of me wanted, well, without giving any spoilers, but part of me wanted her to run into the sunset with him. Yeah, but that's in a future book. Who knows? But.
Yeah. Are you planning any more books in this particular universe?
Yes. So I wrote it with a cliffhanger. I wrote it with about 2 more books in mind. I have sketched out. But my second book that I'm currently writing is not a sequel. There is a slight overlap. One of the characters appears in the next book, but what I've done is set it in a different world, but same time frame kind of thing.
Yeah.
In a very different scenario. So much warmer, sunnier, more tropical climb with similar themes, but one character does cross over. But I hope that with my third book, if the Chalet Girl does well, it'd be great to come back to the follow-up, because I have, you know, I've ended it on a cliffhanger. I've sketched out in my head what happened, and I would like to explain what happened in the next book. And I feel there's so much room for these characters.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many potential consequences
Yeah.
that lead off from this, especially with all the revelations that come at the end without giving anything away.
Yeah.
They open the door to so many other things. I mean, that cliffhanger is enough to sort of say, well, okay, what happens next?
Yeah.
Then you've got all of the other relationships. You've got Bill and Lexi. You've got Anastasia and Kat and her husband Dimitri and their children. You've got Walter, Victor, Lumi. You've got, I mean, it would be lovely to find out that Tiago gets a happy ever after with somebody. And obviously you've got the young kids. You've got Bella, you've got Harry. I mean, how do they adjust to everything? Because so much happens for them in that period of time.
Yeah.
But I find that there are so many options.
Yeah.
So many paths to go down.
Yes.
And obviously with Anastasia's ending her, well, she doesn't end herself, but her ending is incredibly open to interpretation.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, that's what I've got so much more to write for these characters. So I really hope, and actually my intention was to write about 3 books set across an entire ski season. So we're talking from November to April.
Yeah,
so in my
period of time.
Yeah. So in my head, you know, we're covering November and December in the first book. You know, it ends on New Year's Eve, I think. I didn't do it on New Year's Eve itself because Walter has his famous New Year's Eve party, which is how, in my head, I would have liked to have picked up the next book. So hopefully, if there's a sequel, then I will. So I could cover January and February in another book. I could cover March and April and the kind of spring element of the Swiss Alps and all the kind of, you know, things that could happen there, as the season changes and as Emmy is readying to leave. You know,
I
will she?
imagine there's a lot of revelations that could come out of the the New Year's Eve party as well, given
Yes.
everything that's already happened and everything that, as the readers, we know,
Yeah.
the things that could occur at that New Year's Eve party could be explosive.
Yes. Yeah. So I would. That's what I've mapped out lightly. Book 2, book 3, and I'd really love to return to it. So we'll see. We'll see. I am writing the second one at the minute, but not the sequel.
You know, kind of in the same universe, but tangent.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But an out and out follow up next book, and you know what's going on. Did Emmy and Tristan make it? You know, does Tiago get a happy ever after? What was Tom's issue? What did he want to say to Emmy? What happens with the Harrington family? You know, so there are loads of paths that I've got in my head and loosely sketched that I would love to go down. So yeah.
Oh, that's so we could see a sequel. So this, I mean, this book comes out on the 4th of December, which isn't far away at all. And obviously you're writing out the next one.
Yeah.
So how often do you release a novel, or how often are you looking to release?
Yeah.
And how do you plan a lot, or are you a pantser or a planner?
I am more of a pantser, actually. I have, which is funny because for my sequel notes, is probably the most detailed I have ever, because generally I have an idea of a story. Like I knew I wanted to set a story in the Swiss Alps, unrequited love, a girl goes out and falls for the richest guy, hottest guy in town. I kind of knew that much, but it comes when I'm writing. That's the thing. I'm a definite pantser. I have author friends who plot and plan meticulously. So I have, you know, I have written 7 books, romance books, in another name. So talking about process, I tend to write 1 a year. That's what I've done. And this has been this took me a bit longer because obviously a bonkbuster there are more characters.
And it's quite chunky too.
It is quite chunky. It's a bigger cast. I do have to think about all the different tangents and plots and, who's sleeping with who and what are the ramifications of that and that kind of thing. So it's taken me a little bit more than a year to write. And then I got offered my deal this time last year, actually, from lovely Penguin Michael Joseph. So I hope to stick to 1 a year. I'm not sure what the release date is for the next one. I guess we're heading into 2026. So it'll either be late 26 or early 27.
Yeah, I can't believe
I write faster than I do. And I have author friends who write 3 books a year. I just don't know how they do it.
I've spoken with a few authors who have said, oh, I plan everything meticulously. I have planning boards and everything. And I used to be a pantser when I was writing myself.
Yeah, you've written a book. Yeah.
No, I haven't written a book. I wrote a book when I was about 13 and never got it published. And every once in a while I pull it out of the cupboard and look at it and go, no.
Right. Okay.
I used to be an aspiring, but now I do the podcast and I read, and having a full-time job as well. It's just you make time for the things that you're really passionate about. And right now I'm not there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But when if you do go back to it, you just have to find the rhythm that works for you.
Exactly.
And for me, I have 2 teenage boys, but I've been writing now for about books for about 10 years, and I've had to do it sort of fitting it around them and the school day and that kind of thing. Or when they were napping, I'd kind of I can't write at 5 a.m. I'm so tired, I'm asleep. I can't write at 10 o'clock at night. So I sort of cram as much as I can into the middle of the day, sort of 10 till 3 or 9:30 till 3. And that's when I do find, as a pantser, and if that's how you wrote before, that my best ideas come to me when I'm writing, and I feel that it snowballs, or the more I write, then suddenly a better idea will come along and I tweak it as I'm going. So I'm very much a pantser.
Yeah, the book that I wrote years ago, I typed on a manual typewriter.
You're right. Wow.
It didn't exist.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah,
So
that's hard work really, because how do you edit that? Some
Tipex.
people still write by hand, don't they?
Yeah, it was Tipex.
Yeah.
I used so much Tipex. I think some of the pages are
Fumes.
solid.
Yeah.
But
The
it was
fumes.
a good feeling.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
a very good feeling. So where can people find you on social media?
So on social media, I've just started an Instagram account at Victoria Prince Author. I don't know how much to say about my past life as Zoe Folbig author, but I'm also on Zoe Folbig author in my romance hat. Generally, they're the best places. I'm not on Twitter anymore, or barely. I'm more of an Instagram girl because I like baking and cakes, and so I make nice, I take pictures of things I've made. So I'm more pictorial, so I'm more of an Instagram. But I have only just set up the Victoria Prince, but follow me and it'll be wonderful.
Fantastic. Well, I will add that to the info box below, and thank you so much for joining me. I'm really pleased to promote this, and I will be posting photos of it.
Brilliant.
I think the cover is intriguing. It's very, very bright.
Yeah.
There are bits of it. That house looks like it's from the film Chalet Girl, which is one of my Christmas films every single year.
Yeah.
And the rest of it, the color especially, is very Bridget Jones' Diary.
Yeah, true. And then what they wanted to do is, because we thought about, do we go down a Jilly Cooper, Jackie Collins, one word, cover? But actually, we thought Penguin, was saying, actually, we want to kind of move the genre along and have it, this is a bonkbuster now for 2025. And so I love what they've done with it. So I'm really pleased. So
it's great. It's very clever and very modern, but at the same time, the book is still reminiscent of those books that I read in the 80s. One of my favorites was Judith Krantz.
Yeah, it's brilliant. You've totally picked up like every beat that I tried to hit. You've picked it up, so I'm so pleased.
The thing is, it's my genre. I mean, I grew up on that kind of book. I did read a lot of Stephen King at the same time, but I grew up on that kind of book, plus Joanna Lindsay. So you can't really go far wrong.
No. So, I'm so glad. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you ever so much for joining me, and good luck at the on the release.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too. Bye. Well, that's it for this week. And thank you so much to Victoria Prince for joining me to talk about her novel, The Chalet Girl, which is out on the 4th of December this year. If you're enjoying the show, why not share it with your friends or family, and please leave a star rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever platform you're listening on, because it really does help the show to reach anyone that wants to listen to me ramble on about books and talk to some incredible authors. I can't believe that we've got, I think, 2 episodes left of 2025, one of which will be a rundown of my favourite books of the year. And number 1 may surprise you because I haven't talked about it that much on the show, and I also haven't done a review of it on here either. You can find me on Instagram at beingbookish.pod, on X at being_bookish, and on TikTok at beingbookishreviews, where I'm currently just doing a weekly update of the books I've read. I'm hoping that when I get into my new routine a little bit better, I will go back to releasing videos once a day, as I had been while I was out of work. Of course, if you prefer reading, you can head to beingbookish.co.uk for spoiler-free reviews, my 2025 tracker, which I currently need to update, and all the links to the podcast in one place. Until next time, this is me saying farewell.